Stepping up to the plate is the worst baseball show. Noah, how you doing?
Doing good. I'm excited. Baseball season has started. Excited to go over what we've seen the last 3 weeks. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, I've been really enjoying the baseball season so far, aside from my fantasy team performance. However, we don't need to get into that right now. This is not...
Matthew and I have the same fantasy record. We're both 5-1, except my 5 is wins and his 5 is losses.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's going to blame injuries, but it just wasn't that good of a team to begin with.
That's so not true. I lost Spencer Strider and Shane Bieber within 2 days of each other. That was the anchor
Your
of my
offense
pitching staff.
isn't very good.
It's J-Rod's fault. And we're going to talk about him. Let's jump right into things. We got a lot to cover. We're 3 weeks into the baseball season. Page has been popping off, so if you're
Gonna
here...
hit 25K
probably
today.
Yeah.
That rhymes.
25K today.
25K today.
You're
We'll
good
enunciate.
You're a great rhymer.
Thank you.
Why is the seat so low? Oh, there we go. Why don't you raise yours?
Because I'm fine with my seat.
I'm like a whole head above you now.
But my seat was perfect. I'm at a perfect level. You're at a too high of a level.
No, I don't like being like.
I don't even
with
have
my
you
ass
raise
on the floor. It's a chair. It's an ergonomic seat, buddy.
Yeah, that doesn't answer my question.
There's a lever on the bottom.
Okay.
You have to get a stand.
I raised it. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Now it went
You're
down.
still so low. Yeah, there you go.
All right.
All right, now you're a little too. Whatever.
Am I a little taller? So the chairs are even then, right? Yeah. All right. Let's get into it. Let's start the same way.
We've got our game.
We've got our game. I am asking. I've come up with the game this time. It's Matthew's turn to answer. I believe I am 0-1, and this will be your first registered question because we were messing around the first few times.
No, the first time it definitely counted for me.
All right, you're up a game on me. You're up a game.
I'm up a game.
You have a chance to go up by 2.
This means more. I don't know what that.
Don't know what alarm that is. I think it's.
Oh, we're right next to a fire station. That explains everything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully there will be no fires for the podcast's sake and the people's sake. All right. It is my question. Essentially, I know you are waiting. I got the creative juices flowing.
Yeah, you didn't explain anything about this before, so
yeah. Well, that's how it's supposed to be. You'll be learning as the audience learns. I am going to name 8 players. 8 MLB players.
8.
All fairly random, but also known. Has this not been recorded?
No, it's recording. I just don't want it to be too loud.
Okay.
You're naming 8 players.
I'm naming eight players, a few all-stars, a few kind of journeymen, whatever. You are going to tell me, for each player, what year they made their Major League debut.
Okay.
And let's say I name a player, and they debuted in 2015, and you say 2013. You are 2 years off.
Yeah.
So each year off, it will be added up, and there is a spread that you have to beat.
So basically, it's like golf. I want a lower score.
You want a lower score,
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you want to be, well, I will say the spread after, but
Sure.
I have a target score in mind that you have to beat.
No, that's super
And I've
valid.
made it difficult. Okay.
You turn that brightness down, or I'm going to cheat.
All right. Let us start. First player, I'm also going to write down each year you say. Lane Thomas, MLB debut, what year?
I think he debuted in 2020.
2020. Jock Peterson, MLB debut, what year?
It was, I'm going to say 2014.
2014. Ryan O'Hearn, MLB debut,
I'm
what
fucked
year?
on this one. Ryan O'Hearn? I'm going to be so off. 2019.
2019. Framber Valdez, what year did he debut?
Why do I want to say 2020 for him also? I feel like that's wrong. No, I'm going to say 2020.
2020.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of random guys debuted in that short year.
Okay. And Ryan Presley.
Okay. I feel like he's been around for a minute. 2013.
2013. Kyle Gibson.
A while. 2012.
2012. Okay. Dean Kremer.
Dean Kramer, 2018.
2018. Braxton Garrett, final player.
2022.
2022. Okay. You Did not win.
Damn it.
I'm
Did I get fucked on Ryan O'Hearn?
You actually were only 1 year off on Ryan O'Hearn.
Oh, wow.
You were not more than 2 years off on any player.
Okay, that's really not too bad, though.
You were tracking to win, and then Kramer and Garrett were both 2 years off. Your final score is 9. You were 9 off, 9 years off.
And the spread was
6.5.
6.5, okay.
So 6 or lower would have won. You were at 6, or you were at 5. Kramer 2 off.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett 2 off.
Yeah.
You nailed 2 players. You nailed
Okay.
Jock Peterson 2014, and you nailed Ryan Presley 2013, one of the
wow,
oldest
okay.
players. You nailed 2 of the 3 players who had been in the league the longest.
Yeah.
Which is kind of hard to do. Gibson was good. 1 year or 2 years off on every guy. Garrett 2 years. That was probably the most wrong, I think. 2022, you said it was 2020.
For who?
For Braxton Garrett.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah, I did
But
not
the 2020
realize.
guys are tough. Dean Kramer, you said 2018. He was 2020. Gibson,
Really? Okay.
you said 2012. He was 2013. Valdez, you were 2 years off. 2018, not 2020.
2018, wow.
O'Hearn was 18. You said 19, and then Thomas was 19. You said 20.
20, okay.
So it adds up to 9.
You know, I don't disagree with your spread per se, but I think getting within 2 years on every guy is pretty solid.
It was a moderate effort. It wasn't a poor effort.
It wasn't poor. It wasn't my best work, but I do like the game overall.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But you have lost the game. So your lead is still 1. You were up 1. I will look to tie the series up next time. But that is the game. MLB debut game. I will say you did not do poorly. You did pretty well.
Thank you. If you're playing at home, let us know what your score was down in the comments.
All right. That was fun.
That was fun.
What is not fun right now in baseball, you know we're going to start here.
So not
the
fun.
arm injuries.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, never mind.
What did you think I was going to say?
Never mind.
All right. We are not at a fun point in baseball.
No,
let's be frank.
Baseball itself is fun.
Yes, but Major League Baseball is at a reckoning point with starting pitching. And the death, I'm not saying the starting pitcher has died, but the death of the starting pitcher is the death of baseball, if that happens, in my opinion.
No, I was honestly having like an existential crisis about baseball a few days ago. I was actually thinking like, what is this going to do to the game if like every high-end arm is just finished, just cooked?
It will be screwed. I mean, the starting pitcher is probably the most exciting talking point for the casual fan, at least it used to be. Like, I'm thinking like, you need stories, you need narratives, and
yeah,
however fair they are or not, the Clayton Kershaw, can't start in the postseason narrative. It's good for baseball.
Yeah,
it's good to have characters like that kind of have to rise to the moments in the postseason, or they will be crucified, and that oftentimes comes down to the starting pitcher because they are, on a game-to-game basis, the most valuable player.
No, for sure. I mean, there's nobody in one single game who has more impact going into the game than the starting pitcher. I mean,
you're talking about, you said you had an existential crisis a few days ago. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was driving and I was thinking about all these arm injuries, and I was just listing the names off in my head of all the guys who are not seeing pitch right now, who we would like to see pitch. And it became in my head not so much about the names that were missing, but just the quality in arms. And this means absolutely no disrespect to anybody who's gotten a call-up in place of an injured superstar pitcher. But if we keep seeing guys, I came to this realization, if we keep seeing guys who shouldn't be in the major leagues yet, but are needing to step into a major league role and take on a major league workload, which is only going to lead to more injuries, then, I mean, we're talking later about some slumping players. These guys aren't going to be slumping for too much longer because they're going to be hitting against minor league pitching practically every day. And it's frightening to me to think that rooting for starting pitchers is going to go away because we're not going to really have, guys like... I'm a Spencer Strider fan. I'm not a Braves fan, but I'm a big Spencer Strider fan, and I enjoy watching him pitch. I enjoy rooting for him. Same with Shane Bieber.
Even Shane McClanahan.
Yeah, Ray McClanahan. I mean, we could go on and on. Yeah, but I was just thinking that, that whole aspect of the game is going to go away, and then it's just, going to take away from the competitive balance that makes baseball such a great sport, and we're losing that right now.
I actually kind of disagree with you. I think that from a pure production standpoint, this isn't the biggest deal in the world. Like, I think there are replaceable level arms everywhere, especially with the emergence of the bullpens in the previous years, where I think teams can put Band-Aids over this. Like, the Braves season is not over because they lost Strider. Even the Guardian season is not over because they lost Bieber. The Rays are doing well. The Dodgers are doing well. All the teams we just mentioned with those huge arm injuries. The problem is the fact that those players are so replaceable, because then it doesn't become like if the Braves season was screwed, if Spencer Strider was out for the year with Tommy John, then they would put kitty gloves on him in the regular season. These teams know that they can overcome these injuries, and as a result, they are they're not. I don't know. They are prepared for this, and they're still going to throw their starter out, knowing that they have solutions if these guys are out for the year. And that's the problem, because the more replaceable the stars are at the top of a sports league, the larger gap between the top stars and the replacement level players, I think the better, because stars are good for the game. And honestly, like we saw it last year with Texas, they didn't really have a rotation. They scraped together arms and they still won a World Series. I think starting pitching has never been more replaceable and a little bit more obsolete. But also, we've never had the influx of this many talented arms, but that's a problem, because you need those guys to be irreplaceable.
What do you mean by that?
You need the best players in the league to be irreplaceable.
Because you need them on the field.
You need them on the field, and two, if they aren't on the fields,
that's just bad for the game.
But it's bad for the game, but it's bad for the sport in general if your best players are replaceable. For one, the fact they're not playing, and two, the balance, the product on the field. Because then we're not going to have Kershaws, we're not going to have Scherzers this generation, we're not going to have Verlander.
That's exactly what I'm kind of getting at, and I think we do disagree a little bit about the replaceability of pitchers. I feel like if Strider was so replaceable, he wouldn't be Strider.
I think I think if these guys weren't so replaceable, the MLB would have addressed this issue a long time ago.
I don't necessarily know about that, but I want to get into the point about what you're saying with we wouldn't have the Kershaws, we wouldn't have the Scherzers. That's what is most upsetting to me, and that's kind of where my existential crisis was rooting, because I grew up rooting for pitchers. I grew up with pitchers being some of my favorite players. I mean, I had a freaking Cole Hamels Texas Rangers jersey.
Yeah.
It's like I was a pitcher. I was a fan of pitchers growing up. I'm a fan of pitchers now, and not having the guys on the field that I want to be rooting for day in and day out, it's not going to make me not be a baseball fan anymore. I'm obviously a very passionate baseball fan. I have a page, I have a podcast. I love baseball, but for the casual fans, I think it is going to take away from the experience and make it harder for people to get into the sport, because you don't have those guys to rally around.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have the narratives.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, what is this? I feel like baseball is only as strong as its weakest players in a time like this, because, 10 years ago when we were rooting for your guys like Kershaw and Scherzer, and we also had all the offensive stars, you had the nice balance. It was a yin and yang situation going on in MLB. And, honestly, I feel like that was just like the golden age for me. It was like 2013, 2014, 2015. Those were just such fun years for me to grow up as a baseball fan, and thinking about what made those years so fun for me was having guys like, Johnny Cueto and Madison Bumgarner come into the postseason and just take over and pitch. But if none of your star pitchers are healthy, you're not going to have that happening anymore. And it's just frightening to me to think about what's happening to the game in terms of young fans being interested and having that same growth experience that I had when I was growing up, and these were my forming years of being, a mature baseball fan. And
absolutely,
they're being robbed of that right now.
Absolutely, and it's going to lead to all the star players being hitters which I don't know. It's just going to be
we're
uneven.
Already moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think we are,
for sure.
and that's why the Strider one is such a bad it's a really dark moment for the league because he's in his third year and he's kind of trending towards that guy.
Right.
And then at this time, and now he's not going to pitch for at least another year.
Right. Well, another thing that I was thinking about was, like, in my head, like, for years, I always had, like, who were the big three or the big four starting pitchers? You had Kershaw, you had Scherzer, you had DeGrom, you had, Garrett Cole towards the end of that. You had Verlander, right? But now I'm thinking, who would the big four even be right now?
We don't have
none.
one.
There's straight up not.
And
it doesn't exist.
And there's 15 guys who are kind of hovering around that we think can eventually get there.
But they're going to get
so
crippling injuries before they get to that point.
Exactly.
And establish themselves there. No, it's... Yeah, but you want to talk about a solution because everybody's talking about the problem. The problem is not up for discussion. We know what the problem is.
Yes.
How is this going to be fixed? Like,
yes.
We were talking a little bit before this about Justin Verlander's comments, speaking of him, and, he was saying that he doesn't think it's the pitch clock. Everybody's blaming the pitch clock. Everybody and their mother is blaming the pitch clock.
It's a multitude of things.
It's a multitude of things, but, like, what's your take? Like, what needs to change right now?
So,
quickly before we move on to our next thing.
Yeah, I think I wrote down a bunch of stuff. I'm curious what you think. For starters, I kind of wrote down what needs to change at the MLB level because obviously, like, a solution to this is not having kids at 10 years old and travel ball through 12 months of the year.
Right.
Like, but at the MLB level, I think there's a few things. I don't think any of these things particularly solve the issue right away. But okay, my first thought is this: to kind of push starting pitchers back into the limelight, into the narrative. I think we need to bring back wins, which I think wins need to become more important. I think get rid of the 5-inning win rule. I don't think there should be any limit around wins. I think that's obviously doesn't solve the issue altogether, but that's a little thing that makes... Because what I was going to say, and this is a whole tangent, so
how are we incentivizing this, though? Like, why is anybody going to start caring about wins again?
It's just good to have to have stats like win, like the casual fan care about wins a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because now we're having guys like Strider who are like Cutter Crawford has basically not given up a run this year in 4 starts.
One run.
And he doesn't have he does not have a win. He doesn't have a decision. Like it's little fun stuff to create discourse around the starting pitcher.
But if you can get a win by pitching 1 inning as a starting pitcher, don't you think that's gonna make it trivial and people are gonna be like, oh?
I don't think that rule would affect any decision making at the MLB level, and just it creates more stats for starting pitchers, more talking points around seasons. However obsolete and however unimportant that rule actually is. Okay, I have a little more stuff. What about a maximum... So, okay, before I intro this next rule, you were talking about 2013, 2014, 2015. I totally agree. Golden years. I think we're lying to ourselves if we say the starting pitchers, even before these arm injuries, we had lost that. And that is because they go for 4 2/3 innings and you have 12 guys come out of the bullpen that are, they're on, totally unhittable, and their only qualm is that they might walk guys. That's not exciting. Yeah. And the casual fan doesn't care about the 8th reliever on the Minnesota Twins, even though he's incredibly valuable. So what about if we instituted a maximum number of relievers or pitchers in a game?
I like the idea, but that's going to make it harder for pitchers to stay healthy in the first place because... we see guys going down with these injuries when they're only pitching like on average 4 to 5 innings a game. If they're required to stay in, or the manager's hand is forced to keep their starting pitcher in
then
an additional inning and a half, I feel like that's going to lead to more injuries.
Well, I think the problem is velocity, and if you know that you have to stay longer into a game, you're going to strategize for that.
Maybe that. I just feel like. I like where you're at. I just feel like that is going to take a seismic shift in terms of how pitching in general is approached.
Well, that's what we need. We need
the
seismic shift. We're at a reckoning point. Right, reckoning points are seismic shifts.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm thinking too concretely, like, is this realistic? I mean, obviously nothing you say is going to happen. We're not on the phone with Rob Manfred right now. So from the very perspective, yes. I like that idea. I do like the idea.
Okay. These are 2 quick ones that we don't even have to talk about.
Okay.
Shorten the season, larger roster sizes, and this is the one I think I like the most. So you're the argument you just made is also an argument for this one, that if someone goes longer into a game, they are more likely to be injured. I actually think if you knew that guys had to throw longer into a game, like we just talked about.
Yeah, you just said this.
Yeah, but just to intro my next rule, incentivizing longevity from a starting pitcher. This takes care of injuries, and it also takes care of the fact that last season's postseason was really, really boring because
what are you doing? Yeah,
league bonuses for pitchers who reach a certain amount of innings encourage the MLB encourages teams to add more pitching incentives into contracts. I think stuff like that is really important because the current product is just not good how it is right now, and
no, I agree with you.
That is in part to so many things. I thought Justin Verlander did a great interview on that. But it is the team's job to create, manipulate information strategy to win games. And it's beneficial to them to have pitchers throw as hard as they can because they have replacements and to have guys go 4 innings to kind of save them. So I think kind of the MLB needs to do something to de-incentivize that because teams are just going to try to win. And then last thing, I liked the rule that Verlander and Scherzer talked about where we take away a designated hitter when the starting pitcher is removed from the game. I think if they did that just for the playoffs, I think that would be a really fun rule.
Yeah.
Because we need longer starts in the playoffs. We need there's two things going on.
I like that rule in general.
Yeah.
I love that rule.
That's
I
a
think
great
that
rule.
takes care of a lot of incentive to keep a pitcher in.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like that one
especially
rule,
with the emergence of actual DHs that just
no,
literally
for real. I think that one rule takes care of a lot of the bullet points and the things that you just mentioned as potential rule changes. I think taking away the DH would incentivize pitchers, managers to keep pitchers in the game longer, which would then incentivize pitchers not to throw as hard.
Yeah.
No, I like the direction of that one a lot.
That's
easy to implement too.
Easy.
That doesn't.
I mean, we didn't have a DH like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really
and
just
honestly, pitchers hitting is pretty fun too.
Pitchers hitting is really fun,
and they're not
there's
getting
more
injured
strategy. There's more strategy involved with that as the opposing team. We're like, oh, maybe I can intentionally walk 2 guys to get to a pitcher. Like I like the increase in strategy there, the increase in narratives.
I just want old baseball back. Honestly, that's what I want.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's particularly at a reckoning point because these injuries are increasing while the value of the starting pitcher kind of decreases. And something needs to be done. Something really needs to be done. Obviously, this is way above our heads. People more important than us are going to be making these decisions. But
they're not more important. They just have different titles.
That's true. They're just older. They're more experienced.
Yeah, exactly. We'll give it a few years. We'll be right there.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. You bought some of my rules. You sold some of my rules.
We're gonna talk about one more buy and sell now.
Let's do a little more buy and sell. I like that.
All right, so we're gonna talk buy and sell now. We're gonna talk about 5 teams that are off to better starts than we anticipated, and we're gonna say whether we're buying them or we're selling them.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
I mean, I think
we didn't actually intro the rest of the show. Before either, so we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna go panic meter on 4 players for each of us that are off to slow starts. Mm-hmm. And then that's our episode.
Yeah. All right.
It's a podcast.
I mean, I think collectively the Central Divisions heard everybody in the world smack talk them and decided that they're all going to get so much better.
Yeah, all of the division, all the teams here in the Centrals, respective Centrals. Let's start with the Pirates though. Yeah. Because I feel like they are arguably the most interesting one, or second most interesting. I feel like the Royals are very interesting.
I think they're one of the most interesting teams. Yes.
But I don't know. Who goes first here?
I can go first. I think I'm more positive on them. I am going to buy Pittsburgh Pirates. And I think everybody kind of agrees that the Pirates are very well set up for the future, but I also think they're a lot more set up for right now than you might think. They really do have a pretty solid top of the order when clicking with O'Neal Cruz and Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes and Jack Sawinski is going to be better than he started off this year.
Yeah, but a lot of these guys just aren't clicking.
They are clicking right now. It's a small sample. So they aren't clicking and they're still winning games.
Yeah.
For starters. They have a really good rotation now that Jared Jones has come up.
Yeah, that's my main point.
This guy is, we just talked about Spencer Strider. He is the Spencer Strider profile. Fastball, slider, unhittable. He throws his fastball and slider 87% of the time. Strider was at 91% last year for those two pitches.
Has Jared Jones ever had Tommy John surgery?
Not yet, that I believe. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Strider has
It's probably coming. It's honestly, not to go back to the first discussion, but it's honestly kind of hard to talk about pitchers
really inevitable
who have this, because I'm going to bring up
yeah.
Skeens too, and it's like, how could you possibly how could you rely on these guys with what's happening in the game? But we just got to assume everybody's healthy.
Right, exactly. Operating under the assumption that things are going to be okay.
Yeah, the
Pittsburgh Pirates you're buying.
I'm buying. The Jones thing is really incredible. He has ridiculous command, ridiculous. He leads the league in swing strike percentage at 23%. It's not even close to. He leads the league by a lot. If you looked at basically the league leader of that category for every year for the past 15 years, that would be the number one all-time mark.
Small sample size.
Small sample size, but still 4 starts. The thing that's really impressive is he obviously has the unhittable stuff when he's throwing strikes, but he has great command. He's throwing 75% strikes. That's pretty unbelievable. Only 2 walks so far. Second in the league in strikeouts. If you went over the last 300 pitches thrown by every single starter in Major League Baseball, he has the most whiffs by 8. 98% chase rate, 97% whiff rate. He is literally Spencer Strider.
Great. Fine.
And Skeens is right behind him. He might be even better.
What about...
And Mitch Keller.
Okay, my concern, though, with the Pirates is the offense. I'm selling on the Pirates. They got off to a very hot start, right? First 7 games, they were incredible. Team collectively slashed 283, 381, 428. Mm-hmm. That was top 5 to 7 in the league. 121 wins created plus, well above average. Second MLB in the first 7 games with 49 runs, just 1 behind the Cleveland Guardians. And we're going to talk about later. And a 1.6 F4 on the offense through just 7 games, which is really good.
Yes.
But in the 11 games since then, at the time of recording, there's that slash line dropped from 283 average to 221, from a 381 on base to 302, and from a 428 down all the way to a 328 slug. 77 wins created plus down from 121, well below average now. 42 runs in 11 games versus 49 runs in 7 games, and a negative .4 F4 collectively as the lineup. Mm-hmm. O'Neal Cruz has been terrible. Jack Sawinski, like you mentioned, has not been great. Brian Hayes has been...
He hasn't even been that good.
Yeah, he's not been good.
He hasn't been a home run.
Yeah, he's been tolerable. I'm not buying the offense... Too. Great. I'm not buying the offense in Pittsburgh yet. I still... They can get hot again, especially in this division, but I'm not going to buy them right now. I do think they're still a ways away. I put them at, I think 3rd in this division, maybe 4th, teetering on 3rd in our preseason predictions, and I'm still going to put them right there. They've slowed down already. It's not even like we saw last year when they had that surge that I feel like lasted a full month. It lasted a week. I'm not buying the Pirates right now. It's just too early. I agree Jared Jones is super talented. Paul Skeens is on the way. Mitch Keller is good. They inked him to an extension. The pitching has been better than we expected. And there are, notable improvements that I'm not going to deny with the pitching staff. But the offense just isn't there. There are too many holes in the lineup. They can't afford to have a guy like O'Neal Cruz go through periods of time where he's not hitting the way that he hasn't been hitting so far this season. They rely too heavily on these guys in their lineup who are really talented but streaky, and it's just not the time for the Pirates for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sell.
I don't even necessarily disagree with most of what you said. They do have a pretty underwhelming lineup, but they're winning games so far. All right, 2024 Pirates end of the season, how many wins? I'm going to say 84.
I was going to say 79 to 81.
79. Okay. League average team. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
League average NL Central.
Yeah, okay. Team. Okay, here's the thing. And I'm going to take another opportunity to completely throw straight at the San Francisco Giants. The Pirates are mid. The Giants are mid. But the Pirates are just so in a just different category of mid than the Giants.
Well, the Pirates are, this is probably, they're set up so well for the future. They win 79 games this year. I don't think they're going on under 500.
No, I agree.
The next 5, they have a pretty stacked rotation if everybody's healthy. They have prospects. The Giants have nothing to be excited about.
Throwing strays at the Giants.
They have really nothing to be excited about.
Yeah,
all their
Giants,
offseason signings were terrible.
Yeah, Giants fans hate me. Farhan Zaidi needs to be fired. I said this a month and a half ago and people yelled at me, so whatever. Okay. Let's talk about the Brewers because that's another team that I notoriously shit all over.
Yeah, how about that? I was all over the Brewers in the preseason episode.
Yeah. And then what did you say after the episode? You're like, I don't know why I had the Brewers.
Okay, but I initially had the Brewers winning the NL Central before the Devin Williams injury. I took them back. I did say, you know what, after looking at this roster a little bit more, maybe I regret picking them to win the Central, but I did. If you remember, my bold prediction was that will be the closest division in the history of baseball. And it's tracking. Not only is it tracking, but that you were saying they're going to win 60 or 70 games. That automatically right there insinuates they're winning closer to 80.
All right. Well, I'm still selling on the Brewers. I'm still selling. And I'll be the first to admit I was too harsh on them in the preseason. I underrated the offense. But everything I said about the pitching stands, right? I said, this is what I said on one of those episodes, is that Freddie Peralta could win the Cy Young this year, and it wouldn't matter. That this team just does not have the pitching right now with the injuries, with the Corbin Burns trade, to be competitive in this division. It's like, Colin Ray and your guy D.L. Hall has not been good. He's been awful. And it's just, relying on guys like that and just these scrub filler pieces that are going to get them absolutely nowhere. And it's not like any team in this division has a pitching staff that's going to blow me away. But, they just don't have the pieces right now to keep them in it. And Devin Williams is hurt. That happened.
Yeah, he'll be back soon. But yes.
Abner Uribe, who stepped into that role somewhat, has been shaky. It's just not the time. But I do want to give credit to the offense because I shat all over them too. I was wrong about the offense. Bryce Terang has been really solid. I think he's going to be a good player for them all year. William Contreras is still criminally underrated. I never shat on William Contreras.
He's one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, period. Not even best catchers, right? He's better than Adley Rutschman.
I think the Brewers...
William Contreras is, without a doubt... If I'm starting a franchise right now and I have to pick a catcher, and I just have a red pill, William Contreras, and a blue pill, Adley Rutschman, I'm taking the red pill.
I agree.
10 times out of 10.
He's been a top 10 player in the league this season and much of last season.
No, absolutely. And, Jackson Churio, while he hasn't taken the league by storm the way some anticipated, he still looked solid. You can't be impatient with him the way that he's been playing. And Christian Yelich, he got injured, and that could potentially hurt him, literally and figuratively. He was playing really well before he went down. So I think I'll be the first to admit, Brewers fans, I was a little bit too harsh on your offense. Andrew Monasterio can still kick rocks. He's a fucking piece of shit. But... no, this team.
What did he do?
He's just bad.
Okay. I thought he did something to you, personally, or was an abuser.
Yeah. No.
I thought he did something off the field.
Not that I don't know anything about him off the field.
I'm sure he's a good guy.
Probably innocent until proven guilty. He's never been accused of anything.
Whatever.
Andrew Monasterio, on the very off chance that you're listening to this, I apologize. You're probably a nice guy, but I don't think that...
It felt personal.
It did really feel personal. Let's cut it all. Let's cut all of it.
All right. You're selling him.
I'm selling him. I'm selling the Brewers in general, but not as hard as I was selling them in the preseason.
Yeah. I'm buying the Brewers, if you couldn't figure it out. I talked a little bit there. The offense is really, really good. I think, people don't realize how good William Contreras is. Second in the league right now, and hard hit percentage trailing only the one and only Bobby Witt. I think there's a real chance that when Devin Williams comes back, this team has the best hitter in the division, best starting pitcher in the division, and the best closer in the division. In Williams, Contreras, and Peralta. Peralta's been unbelievable. There's also something exciting. The Brewers for so long had this identity of just, we can't hit. We have elite starting pitching. We're a small market. We're kind of boring. We're not going to score a lot of runs, and we're probably not going to do anything in the postseason. That big shift in philosophy with getting rid of Burns, with getting rid of Counsell, with getting rid of Woodruff. Well, not rid of him, but he's not pitching this year. I think this they're a young, fun team that just kind of has good vibes. Seems like they like each other.
And I feel like the low expectations kind of helped this team.
I totally
agree. For the past
agree.
few years, the Brewers, honestly, like the past 5 years, the Brewers have been in charge of this division.
Yeah.
And now we went into the season being like, okay, well, they got rid of Corbin. They traded Corbin Burns. Woodruff's out for the year. Pitching rotation sucks. Expectations as low as they've been in the better part of a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can't hurt.
You're right. And they did. It is funny because they did really own this division the last 5 years, but it's like they made an NLCS in 2018, but it's like they were winning games because they were scoring or they were giving up like 2 runs. Like now they were winning games 3-2 on like, incredible, I don't know, Peralta to a great 8th inning guy to Josh Hader. That's a lot of the times they were winning games because of that. It's like now we're winning games 7-5. Now we're winning games 6-3. The offense leads the NL in OPS, second in home runs, third in stolen bases.
It's really the offense for me. They've been what is making me. I'm still selling, obviously, but it's making me more confident than I once was.
I'm buying them.
Yeah, clearly. Okay, on to a team that I'm gonna buy, the Kansas City Royals. I feel like my stance on the Royals in the preseason was very fair. I think
you were pretty harsh on them.
The only thing I said was that I didn't think that they could jump up by 30 wins.
You argued that the White Sox would be better than them.
We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about that.
How could you say your opinion on the Royals in the preseason was fair and 16 games in the season you're buying them?
My take there had more to do with the White Sox, and they've obviously
That's not a better
That
argument.
was before they even traded Dylan Cease, though. So let's put things into a little bit of context before we lose everybody on this one. I said that the moves the Royals made were very good, and I particularly liked the moves they made to bring in pitchers. I wasn't sold on the offense, and I'm still not, but they're doing more than I expected to, and the pitching has been unbelievable. I mean, to a level that is completely unsustainable, and I'm still buying.
They have 4 good starters.
Yeah, but I mean, 3 of them have ERAs under 1. I mean, it's fucking crazy.
No, you're right.
It's like
a lot of that has to do with the schedule.
A lot of it has to do. Yeah, they've had a fairly easy schedule so far, but it's weird. Like the pitching has been really good, and the offense has been solid, but I feel like I'm almost buying the offensive breakout more than I'm buying the pitching breakout because the pitching has just been on such an insane level that it's hard for me to buy into that. It feels more like good luck. And it's just like, even if they remain really, really good, they're not going to remain this good. I mean, it's wild. But I do like the Royals. I mean, I feel like I'm talking about them now like I'm selling, but I'm not. I'm buying. It's been an offense by committee. Witt's been really good. Vinny P's been really good, making honor roll today. Even Nelson Velasquez has been solid. That was quite the voice crack. Velasquez. But I'm taking the Royals. I think that there is a really good shot actually now for them to win the division, and that's kind of why I'm buying, because I didn't think they had a shot going into this year, but now I do. And this honestly has a lot to do with my next take on the Guardians, but I'll let you talk about the Royals first.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of a cop-out here. I'm going to hold, not buy or sell. Yeah, I think I kind of agree with a lot of what you said. I don't think you talked enough about Bobby Witt, though. Like, that guy is truly maybe the best player in the league.
It's like no press. That was loud.
He is basically, I think if the season ended today, the AL MVP.
I mean, the season's not ending today.
I know, but he's been, just to say he's been really as good, probably better than any player in the American League so far this year. I'm very pissed that I didn't bet him at like 20-1 to win the MVP. I think even if they just make the playoffs, he will be the MVP. But the top of the lineup is good, like you said. Kind of, I mean, you mentioned Maikel Garcia, good leadoff hitter.
He's not been that great though.
He hasn't, but
under the Mendoza line.
No, I still think he's hit the ball pretty hard. Some underlying statistics are in his favor there. I do kind of think the pitching will come back down to earth. I think the bottom of the order.
Reagan's is a 1.93 ERA. I mean, he's a really talented pitcher, but I don't think he's going to pitch to under a 2 all year. Seth Lugo, 105. Brady Singer, a .98. I mean, they're all really talented arms, don't get me wrong. I think Seth Lugo probably would have been one of the better starting pitchers in the league a few years ago if the Mets ever used him that way, but No, I like the direction that this team is heading, and I am buying them, but with a slight asterisk because the way this pitching has been performing is unsustainable.
Yeah. Only 2 series versus teams over 500. They lost them both. I'm going to hold, but not super high on them.
All right.
Cleveland Guardians.
I'm also copying out a little bit. I'm saying sell-ish on them.
Mm-hmm.
The Guardians have an opposite problem to what they usually have. They have a really good offense right now, and their pitching's pretty awful. I mean, that rotation after losing Bieber has put up an ERA, I think, hovering around 5.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's really bad. Tristan McKenzie's been
horrible. Awful. Tanner Bybee hasn't been really good. It's just... Carlos Carrasco is, really... You can't expect much from him at this point in his career. It's tough for me because I do think that both the offense that's been really good and the pitching that's been really bad are going to move back towards the mean, and it's going to end up in kind of like a middling team situation. But I can't help but enjoy what I've seen with the offense right now. I mean, they've got 6 guys with a WRC plus of 100 or more, and J-Ram is not one of them. I mean, it's crazy.
Bo Naylor's not one of them either. Could get a lot better.
No, for sure. And no, I really do. I have enjoyed watching this offense. Stephen Kwan has been a lot of fun to watch so far this year. Josh Naylor has been a lot of fun to watch this year. But I do think that it's just going to move a little bit back towards the mean. I do still think this is probably an above 500 team in the AL Central. And I think they're going to be in the wild card picture, which is why I'm only selling ish. But the pitching's going to improve. The batting's going to get worse. I feel like those 2 things are locked.
The pitching... I disagree that the pitching's going to improve.
It's got to improve a little bit.
The pitching,
there's a lot of talent.
They lost Shane Bieber.
Rotation.
They lost Shane Bieber. They're going to get better without, their Cy Young candidate.
I mean, just the specific arms. I mean, McKenzie's not going to be this bad.
I think he is. I think he is. He can't get any swings and misses right now. He's at 6%.
I mean,
swinging strike percentage.
He's low key injured though. That's the thing. Like,
well, that's not a good thing either.
I know.
He's not throwing any strikes. He's not getting any swings and misses. I mean. I don't know. They have got they're throwing out this.
So are you selling the Guardians?
I'm selling the Guardians. I don't know. I do like the top of the order. I kind of like the philosophy of you have the slap hitters in Kwan and Jimenez who do a really, really good job of getting on base, and then you bring in J-Ram with them on base, and then you bring in Josh Naylor with them on base. They'll score a lot more runs than they have.
It's good. The top half is good.
Bottom half is not that good.
Bottom half, yeah.
And I don't they'll churn out successful relievers, but I don't think they're going to have enough from the starting pitching department to contend for the division. I don't know who's winning the division because I'm holding the Royals and selling them, and we'll talk about some other teams in the division soon. But Twins don't look good. But yeah, I'm going to sell the Guardians.
I'm selling ish. On the Guardians. I have a little bit more confidence than you do, but I feel like I historically have confidence in the Cleveland Guardians. So, all right, last team. For over here is the Detroit Tigers. And I'm going to start off by saying that this is a hard sell for me. It's a hard sell. Their time has already run out. I mean, they're easily a bottom 10 offense in the league. And that's with most of the big bats that they rely on being solid still. I mean, Kerry Carpenter, a.k.a. Kerry Bonds, is a 920 OPS. Riley Green is a 773 OPS. Mark Canha has come in and been pretty good.
Torkelson hasn't been good, though.
No, Torkelson
probably the biggest
That's my
bat.
one exception. Yeah. But... I mean, the offense has still been. I feel like aside from Torkelson, the offense has been about as good as it's going to be, but they're still a bottom 10 offense. And the pitching rotation. Who are you relying on after Tariq Skubal?
Yeah,
I mean he's as advertised. Don't get me wrong. He could win the Cy Young if he stays healthy. But Jack Flaherty, Casey Mize, Reese Olson,
Kenta Maeda,
Casey Mize. I mean, it's just not a good rotation after their one starter.
I don't think it's that bad.
It's just so mediocre. But there's no upside. Is the thing. I feel like there's no upside.
I don't even.
These guys.
I think Mize and Olsen and
but
Flaherty,
the thing is, I disagree. These were guys who 4 years ago had a lot of upside, but not anymore.
Yeah.
They've battled injuries. Their swing and miss has decreased. They're not getting guys to chase the way that they once were when they were prospects or first bursting onto the scene. It's just I don't see it with the Tigers' rotation. The bullpen is just as mediocre as it was in the preseason.
Yeah.
Everybody in that rotation. But you got to admit that everybody in that bullpen looks like Andrew Chafin, and it's weird. It's really weird. But no, I'm selling.
Yeah.
Their time is, like I said, their time has already run out. They're not even like they have a negative run differential.
Mm-hmm.
They're hovering around 500 at this point. The first few games it was looking promising.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun, but short-lived.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't have much to add. I'm selling too. I agree with most of what you said. Yeah, they're just not that talented. They're really not that talented.
Yeah.
Outside of Scooball.
Javi Baez, though.
Yeah, he'll swing at anything.
Absolutely. So I watched like 3 innings of the game yesterday. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like first pitch, like he was standing there just like looking all lazy, like he didn't care. Like not even close. The ball didn't even start in the zone, and it's like 3.5 feet outside.
Did you see it on Twitter? I don't know who tweeted it, but it was like that Javier Baez was just he takes the worst swings in the world early in the count to bait the pitcher into throwing him balls, and then he'll take his walk because. Well, it's 8 feet out.
I watched his first walk of the season. That was the same at bat. The first pitch, he came and he swung.
And then I forgot who was pitching. He was like, I can throw this wherever.
It was John Gray.
Yeah, and he didn't swing.
Yeah, he didn't swing. Yeah, honestly, like I wouldn't doubt it, but it's
big
not
brain
working,
move.
Javi.
Yeah, he's stealing money just like Ipe. Yeah.
Okay, if we were to put him on a panic meter, he's off the charts.
Yeah.
A terrible panic.
I'm not panicked about him because we know how bad he is.
Exactly how bad he is. But let's talk about some guys who we don't know how bad they are.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna hypothesize. We're gonna ask each other how bad we think they are.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys who you could kind of.
You want to check your camera though?
Sure, I think it should be good.
There we go. We can switch to mine too if you need. Still rolling?
Still going.
Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we were gonna do the thing where like you asked me about
I was
and
about
asked
to
you
do
about
that.
yours. So who was on your list again?
Yeah, Logan Webb, Jose Ramirez, O'Neal Cruz, Evan Carter.
Okay, it's right here. Okay.
Yeah, just Carter instead of Jones.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, well, that's cool. Well, they're gone now.
Can you just refresh it? What happened to your Wi-Fi?
My Wi-Fi's shot for some reason. Whatever, just who are they?
Oh, you have it right there. Oh, okay. Webb, Ramirez, Carter, Cruz. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see mine?
Yes.
Judge, J.
Yeah.
Bailey, Holiday. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Speaking of, okay, so, yeah.
I can do it.
The panic, okay,
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Javier Baez, yeah.
We just talked about he's terrible. He's a player that, yeah, everybody's out on. Nobody's panicking about him anymore because we know how bad he is. But there's a lot of players that I don't know that are not off to good starts, and I'm curious what you think if they're going to get it back. Like, I don't know, a player like Aaron Judge, really slow start.
Yeah.
Are you panicking? Are you not panicking?
Are you asking me on the
On Aaron
panic
Judge.
meter?
Yes, on the panic meter.
Panic meter, okay, so if I had to put my panic about Aaron Judge on a 1 to 10, honestly, I'm at a 1. I'm not panicking about Aaron Judge. I mean, he's still hitting the ball wicked hard. He's not chasing. A few of the metrics are looking a little bit shaky, and I'm not going to completely say that this slump is because of luck, but in large part it is. I mean, his BABIP, his batting average on balls in play, is 200.
Mm-hmm.
When you're hitting the ball as hard as Aaron Judge hits the ball, that's insanely unlucky. Is he going to hit 62 homers this year?
Yeah, no.
Probably not. I mean, that's, to expect him to go out and do that every single year is insane. But he's going to pick it up. He's going to improve. I have absolutely no worry that Aaron Judge, my only possible concern is if there is a slight nagging injury. But the metrics don't even show me that there is a slight nagging injury. He's still hitting the ball as hard as he ever has. Mm-hmm. And
it's interesting because
I think he's got to improve. He's got to improve. He's one of the best hitters that we've ever seen. He's not
I'm not too worried about him either. I mean, you
1 to 10.
Think 2.
Okay.
2. The injury stuff is fairly just. I mean, it's something to monitor just because he didn't really come back last year. But I mean, with the way the Yankees are playing and they're still winning games, like adding Juan Soto to the lineup, it is a bit surprising, but it's a small sample size, and this guy, is one of the best power hitters in the league who is still hitting the ball hard. So he'll figure it out for sure. I think it wouldn't be higher than a 3.
Okay, I'm putting him at a 1 on my panic.
At a 1, okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about a pitcher though. I'm curious what you're thinking about Logan Webb.
Logan Webb, yeah. He's an interesting guy. Statistics aren't terrible this year, the baseline statistics. 3.8 ERA. WHIP is a little high, 1.39. But he's an interesting pitcher because he's generally not striking out a lot of guys, and he's avoiding walks, avoiding barrels. And that's just kind of an interesting trope of pitcher in this day and age. It's honestly one that is more likely to stay healthy, but I don't know. I just haven't liked what I've seen from him so far. 7 or more base runners in every start this year. Expected batting average of 328 right now, which is really, really high. That's towards the bottom of the league. I don't know. He's not striking guys out, which he never really has, but the walk rate is down. His hard hit percentage is way up. I don't know. I just really he really hasn't struck out anybody. He's faced some pretty, like, besides the Dodgers, that was really the only star-studded lineup that he faced all year. He got shelled. So I'm concerned. I'm going to put him at a 7 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know that this trope of pitcher is I don't know, fit for the league today to continue to be an ace. The changeup, which was once like his best pitch, he's throwing it less. It's getting hit more. I don't know. I'm a little concerned about the Giants as an organization, and as a result, like especially with their development, and as a result, I'm concerned about Webb. I think that he has kind of outperformed where he should be at this year. So I'm going to go a 7 out of 10. I don't know. What would you put it?
The thing is, like, I've said a bunch of times that I really like the way Logan Webb profiles, but your concerns are valid.
Mm-hmm.
I love a pitcher who is a pitch-to-contact guy, but, just with the specific pitches you were mentioning,
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like I am a little bit concerned. I think maybe last year was a slight overperformance, but he is still a really talented pitcher. I'm putting him right in the middle. I'm putting him around a 5.
I mean, last year, he beat his expected ERA by almost 0.4. This year, his expected ERA, any guesses on what it is right now? His ERA is 3.8. Any guesses on the expected ERA?
5.2.
It's exactly 5.2.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even see
it's
that.
It's 5.2 on the dot. That's incredibly impressive.
Wow.
It makes me think you cheated.
I seriously did not. I just know ball. Clearly.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to be, I don't know, not missing any bats with, I don't know, and an average exit velocity off the bat that's climbing, that's a little bit concerning for me. But yeah, I think the most interesting player so far in terms of the slow start is actually Julio Rodriguez, because he was kind of talking a lot about this is a huge year for the Mariners, and he was bringing that up. He wasn't shying away from that in the offseason. He kind of had a sophomore slump last year.
I mean, not even really. He ended up having a really good season.
Yeah,
he finished like top 5 MVP.
But they didn't. Yeah, he had a great season, but he had a little bit of a slow start. They didn't make the playoffs. Mariners were disappointing. I guess it's more the Mariners than him.
Right.
But I don't know. Just been terrible to start the year. Gets picked off to lose the game the other night.
Yeah, that was bad. His head's not in the game.
Where
right
are
now.
you at with him?
Yeah, on the panic meter for Julio Rodriguez, I'm putting him at a 5 out of 10. It's tough because everything is trending wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel like this is potentially a sophomore slump, but a year too late. The only thing I will say that inspires confidence, which might not immediately make sense, is that his K rate is 10% higher than it was last year.
Yeah.
And I'm confident about this because we've seen...
His K rate?
Yeah, his K rate is 10% higher than it was last season.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, we've seen good Julio Rodriguez with a lower strikeout percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like his head's not in the game. He's not picking up the ball right, but that is easier to come back than a mechanical difference. He's still hitting the ball hard. When he hits it, it's just not happening as often. It's not happening the right way. So I think Julio, for whatever reason, has this rust that he needs to shake off. I'm putting him right in the middle of my panic meter at 5.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's possible he struggles all year, but he's not going to be this bad. I mean, he's astonishingly terrible right now.
Yeah.
And he's going to improve to a degree. I'd love to see him get to MVP form, but sticking at a 5. What about you?
I'm at about a 5 too. 73 at bats, no home runs.
Yeah,
it's just weird to see. Like, the chase percentage is not good. The whiff percentage is not good. The K percentage is not good. But that's all stuff that he hasn't really excelled at in his career.
Right.
And he's made up for that.
Everything else has still worked.
He's made up for that because he hits the ball really hard, and he's not hitting the ball hard right now. But I think that kind of his profile is interesting because when he's not hitting the ball hard, he's not a valuable player. If he's going to strike out and not really walk and you know not make life difficult for a pitcher. So while he's not hitting the ball hard, which could just be, you know, something because it's the start of the new season, you know, his head's not in the game. I think that's something that'll turn around. But at the same time, I don't know. We're like 20 games into the season. He doesn't have a home run.
We're about 10% done with the season.
Yeah, he's only barreled 3 balls. I don't know. Expected OBA of just 299.
He makes up for it because he's so fast and he's such a good fielder, and like that's why that base running mistake was so I don't know.
Right. It's telling.
It's telling to lose a game like that. Like that's just not what you need.
Yeah. So what number are you at?
I'm gonna say 5-2.
All right.
I'm gonna say 5-2.
Let's talk about another youngster, Evan Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Really an interesting one to me. Also started off quite slow. Didn't get a hit for like the first 10 or 11 games of the season. Where are you at on him?
Yeah. I don't know about you. I'm fascinated by Evan Carter. I know
you're a big fan.
Loved, not even a fan. I just enjoy. He's a unique player. I loved watching him in the playoffs last year. For one, you don't see rookies like who had that little plate appearances in the regular season be so successful and such a big part of a team's World Series run. But he also just like acts like a veteran in the box where he's such a good eye. He's so plate disciplined. He's not going to swing at balls. He just knows exactly what he's doing. He's going to take his walks and he's not going to chase. And that poise, it didn't necessarily go away at the start of the year, but he was chasing more. He was taking more strikes. And I think that's just kind of like, that's not something I'm overly concerned about. He still has a 90% whiff rate, 89% walk rate. Sprint speed is still incredibly high. He's struggled a bit. I think teams have the scouting report on him. He struggled a bit with the off speed stuff, but he has like showed me enough with just his baseball IQ to be like he can locate pitches and he can hit. He can react to the trickery of an off speed pitch a little bit more than like a normal rookie who's a little bit more raw talent but less comfortability.
I agree.
And he hit a double off an off-speed pitch the other night. He possesses every tool besides maybe the power.
And there's still some pop
there. There's still pop, and he's young, and he'll get that major league strength training and kind of grow into his prime. And there's really nothing to be concerned about here. I'm at a 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. I feel like my concern has to be a little bit higher, at least imminently for this season. I do think maybe the surge came a little soon for Evan Carter. We had really sky-high expectations coming into this season based off what he did in the playoffs last year during the Rangers World Series run. And while I do agree with everything you're saying, he has all the tools there. He's a really mature hitter for his age. Things just take time. Mm-hmm. And I do think I'm going to contradict this a little bit with the next guy you asked me about. But I think the tools are there for Evan Carter in just a maturity way that you don't see with a lot of super young players in the game today. Like you mentioned, he draws the walk, he gets on base, he doesn't chase. You don't see that a lot.
That usually comes last.
Right, exactly. So it's an inverse for him. Mm-hmm. But I think for this year, we're not necessarily going to see it all happen right now. So maybe long-term, my concern would be low in, the lower third of the panic meter. But for now, I'm probably going to put Carter, honestly, at about a 6.
A 6? Okay, that's higher than I thought for him, for someone who possesses him on his fantasy team. But
right, yeah.
No, yeah.
I'm just not confident about anybody in my fantasy.
No, I understand that argument. I think it's a lie, but I understand the argument. What are you doing? One of the more fascinating players, I think, or polarizing, maybe that's a better word. One of the more polarizing players in the league.
Yeah, I know you're asking me about.
Yeah, it's Cody Bellinger, from his MVP season to the fall-off, to the changes in the swing.
Okay, wait, never mind. I thought I was one ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. to the changes in the swing, to the DFA, to the incredible roller coaster ride of his free agency where we think he's going to make $200 million. And 2 months go by and he hasn't signed, and then he's on basically a 1-year contract for less than $100 million in total if he wants it. But yeah, where are you at with him? Because he's really struggled so far this year.
Yeah, the thing with Bellinger is he's just not hitting the ball hard. and that's a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't hit the ball hard last year either. So the question becomes: is he unlucky this year, or was he exceedingly lucky last year? And I'm leaning towards he was exceedingly lucky last year.
I totally agree.
And he had the highest BABIP of his career last season, but an expected WOBA 50 points below his actual WOBA.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that shows that he was pretty lucky last year, and. You take a season like 2019 when he was hitting the ball really hard and had that insane MVP season, his expected WOBA was actually higher than his actual WOBA, and he was still the best player in the league. So it's tough for me. I don't think that the tools are there the same way they used to be with Bellinger, which really breaks my heart because he's still one of my favorite players. But I'm honestly a conservative 7 on my panic meter with Cody Bellinger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think last year, there's no other way to say it. I think last year was a total fluke. I think he was incredibly lucky. I mean, basically every metric in 2023 said that he kind of outperformed his expected average slugging, OBA, whatever you want. And I kind of just think that we're seeing that find its level in this year. Maybe, I mean, obviously he's not as bad as he's been to start this year, but I just think he's not that good of a player. This is a guy who got DFA'd a few years ago, and sure, he had a 26 homer season last year, but at the same time, he wasn't even that great for stretches last year. There's a reason that his expected, value, he got $140 million less than what we thought. Some of that's Boris. But I think MLB teams had very legitimate concerns, and I have very legitimate concerns about him.
So what's your number, panic meter?
I'm going to say 9 out of 10.
Okay. I honestly can see it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to ask you, we talked about him a little bit before, O'Neal Cruz. Where are you on him? He's been terrible.
Yeah. I am going to say I'm at like a 4 or 5 on O'Neal Cruz.
All right.
It's a very slow start, like you said. It's an interesting question when you compare him to somebody like Evan Carter, where, O'Neal Cruz is much more raw talent, but I don't know, he's chasing so much. He can't hit fastballs. He can't catch up to fastballs. He's coming off a huge injury. I don't think he can be as bad as he was, as he's been. He's such a good spring training, which makes it so interesting. But I don't know. He has so much raw talent, and he missed out on so much baseball last year that I think it'll take him a little bit of time. Yeah, I'm going to say 4 or 5.
All right.
What about you?
I don't know. I think that I'm probably right around the same range.
Mm-hmm.
He did miss a lot last year. I think we expected a lot from O'Neal Cruz this season, but yeah, right around there. I feel like I don't have anything to add. It's just the strikeouts are so concerning to me. He's just such a big or bust guy. My real concern is that he ends up profiling like a Joey Gallo, and obviously that formula did not work out great for Joey Gallo.
Yeah,
so
I'm not there yet. Yeah, I don't think he's there yet, but I understand why you would make that profile comparison. All right, I'm not even going to intro the next guy. This is all I'm going to say. Matthew thinks Jackson Holliday's a bust. Matthew hates Jackson Holiday.
I mean,
and he thinks he's a bust.
That's ridiculous to say. I don't think that he's a bust, but I'm concerned with him more so for reasons that people aren't necessarily talking about. Okay, I'm not concerned about the slow start. The 1 for 22, whatever. Not worried about that. I'm just worried about how he profiles generally. Don't want to take anything away from him as a player. He's a very, very, very talented guy. A great hitter. But I don't see the swing profiling as a real power threat down the line. And it's very, very hard for guys who hit for higher average, higher on base, and even guys who slug in different ways aside from hitting home runs. I mean, nothing's as sexy as the long ball. And this is a guy who had 15 home runs in over 700 plate appearances in the minor leagues. And yes, he's still very young, and yes, he's still growing into his body. But I just don't think he has the same level of power as guys who we see win MVPs. I mean, the last time we saw a guy with fewer than 20 home runs in a full season who wasn't a pitcher win an MVP was 2008.
But he's not at an MVP. He's not supposed to be at an MVP level yet.
Right. I'm just saying, I don't know that, I just don't know that he's going to grow into a great power hitter.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be like a 20-ish home run guy at his peak power level. And that doesn't mean that he can't hit 330 and, hit 71 doubles in a season. And that's great. Maybe that'll be enough to get him an MVP 5 years from now. But I just think that the luster, the sex appeal of a guy who just is not a big power hitter fades faster than the guys who are. And, the reason why Mike Trout has had such a successful career and remained in the public eye of the baseball fan as being the GOAT is because even in seasons where he's been injured and only played half the year, when he's on the field, he's still hitting home runs.
Yeah.
And, Mike Trout is that true five-tool player, and I think if there's one tool that I'm not sold on Jackson Holiday, it is the power. So, panic meter, I'm just for clicks, I'm going to say it's 9, but it's not
Don't
really
say it's
what
just
I
for
mean.
clicks. Redo
That's
it.
the joke. Yeah, right, yeah. But... no, I don't know that I necessarily see him developing into a true power hitter, and that's my concern with Jackson Holiday. I think he's going to be an endlessly valuable player in just a baseball sense, but with dingers, I just don't know.
I don't know. We got to give this guy time. I think I get what you're saying, but I think by the time he's 23, 24, develops a little bit more, he will be a consistent home run hitter. I'm not concerned at all. Yeah, I mean, you said the slow start doesn't really matter. I agree with that, but I think the raw tools are there. He will adjust to professional pitching. This is a guy who got just flew through the minor leagues, which I don't think was very smart of the Orioles, but I think that he will figure it out. I'm at a 2.5. I'm at a 3.
It's really valid. Yeah. I could honestly see a 1 here, but again, for clicks, I'm saying a 9. And with that,
and because that's your opinion,
and because it's my opinion, and I'm always right. And with that, you can click off now if you've made it this far, because that's the show. Thank you if you made it this far. Let us know your thoughts on anything in the comments. Shoot me a DM. That's the Worst Baseball page.
Follow it.
No, that's not the name of anything.
Worst Baseball
DM
Show.
The Worst Baseball page. The Worst MLB and the Worst Baseball Show on Instagram. Until next time, enjoy this weekend of games.
See ya.